Hello everyone and welcome to the Game Week 3 preview for Champman FPL. Strictly's on in the other room, so no better time. How was your Game Week 2? I think it was much more of a mixed bag this week, wasn't it, for people? Game Week 1, I think a really high average score. Most of us had Rude captain in the team. Some really predictable returns in Game Week 1, I'd say. Game Week 2, much more of a mixed bag. I think anybody that captained Viduka was really unlucky. Anyone that captained Hart, well played, really good differential pick. Was 53 for me. I stuck with Rude as skipper. I couldn't get Viduka in my team. I had Shearer, and I just decided that taking a -4 to try and manoeuvre Viduka in wasn't going to be worth it. So I just swapped Shearer out for Boxic, who I'm happy with for the next few weeks. So didn't have Viduka in my team. So stuck with Rude as captain, which paid off. Had Hadji as a differential return, which was good, but otherwise pretty average stuff. Only got 10 out with Beckham not playing, and all my Bolton boys blanking. So 53, not a disaster, but one to move on from, I think. In terms of the sim data we looked at last week, I think, as I mentioned in one of my tweets, nothing for Zepeda was probably the standout. We focused on him a little bit last week, didn't we? But he looked good in the Game Week 2 sims, but that's just how it goes. The sims give you a chance to play the odds a little bit, but never any guarantees. I could sim 1,000 times and we'd never get an average result that equals exactly what we'll see on a Thursday night. But to be fair, I think other than Zepeda, who looked really good, I think other than that, by and large, a lot of the stuff we looked at came in. I was particularly happy to see Izzet and Hughes come good. They're not in my team, but we did call them out last week. Izzet and Hughes looked good for returns, so that came in. I think Izzet got a brace, Hughes got a goal and assist, a man of the match. Few people got in touch with me to say they got one chop in on the back of the video last week, because we were seeing Man City score so many goals. So fair play anyone that did that and saw him bag his brace. Someone even got in touch and said they brought Ravanelli in because we talked about Derby and how you can kind of pinpoint their returns. And Ipswich at home looked a game where they might at least score some goals. So that came good as well. He got something, didn't he? So a bit of a differential punt there that came in. So that's nice to hear. So anyway, on to Game Week 3 then. Slightly different approach this week. I've got a few less screenshots of the game to share with you, but instead of that, I will share with you the kind of raw data that I talk about. So I've spent the time tidying that up a bit into a format that I can share with you, rather than some of the screenshots. So I'll share the raw data between, for the player stats for each fixture, and then where I think things might need a little bit more explaining, then I will share some shots from the game. So let's crack on with it and see how we go. So fixture number 1 we'll look at then is Bolton versus Everton. So first up, the 20 sims. I know it was a bit small on the screen last week, so I've broken out the big guns. I've got my work equipment going, and I'll zoom in for you as much as I can without it cutting off the screen. So Bolton versus Everton then. So 20 sims of this fixture. Bolton shading it for average goals, 1.65 versus 1.25 for Everton. Bolton winning a shade over 50% of the matches. Not too many draws though. Everton weren't far behind really on 7 wins out of 20. Bolton better, clearly better for clean sheets, although it was not high numbers from either of them. So I think that Bolton attacking. If you're going to target anything in this fixture, probably Bolton attacking returns is the one to go for. Wouldn't be targeting an Everton clean sheet particularly, or a Bolton clean sheet particularly. Although as we looked at in Game Week 1, Bolton defence can be good for bonus even if they don't keep a clean sheet. So the top performing players from this game then. So again, 20 sims, and I've just included the players who got 6 returns or more. So obviously there were more players that got something, but I think using 6 as the cut-off is probably about right. I think anything less than that you can put down to sort of random results, like the Unsworth 30-yard header from last week. Some things happen that you just you're not gonna sort of put any faith in coming up for real, really. So 6 returns or more is what we'll look at. So Pedersen was the top man, 20 sims, 11 returns. Top player for Bolton, Ketspire next, 8 returns. So nice split of goals and assists in this one for Ketspire. Bo Hansen, I think he got some points in week 1, didn't he? He's a cheap option. He's someone that I hadn't really looked at or considered at all, but I think he might have got 5 or 6 points in game week 1, and he's coming out in this one as well as potential to get something. So maybe he could be a value option if he's going to play regularly. Sherwood did better than Wally this time for the bargain basement Bolton midfield, and Gardner looked good from fullback. I think we know that he's quite high priced for a reason, and Duncan Ferguson not bad as well. So Everton didn't score too many goals, but the goals they did score, you can focus in on Ketspire and Ferguson. Okay, so that's Bolton Everton. Chelsea Arsenal, 20 sims. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so Chelsea looking pretty good in this one, especially for goals. 1.45 goals. Arsenal averaging less than a goal a game. Chelsea won just a shade under half the games. Arsenal just a quarter of them. Pretty close for clean sheets. So yeah, Arsenal, if they did win, tended to do it by the odd goal to nil in a few of them. So one thing that stood out for me in this one was Arsenal looked good for a red card. So had a look into their tactics, and when they're away from home against a good team, they'll go in with a defensive mentality against Chelsea, and they have hard tackling as well. So which kind of makes sense if you think about it. So I mean, depending on your age, your perception of Arsenal might be sort of tippy tappy, weak backbone kind of thing. They'll throw it away, but actually in this sort of era under Wenger, they were good for a red card in real life. So it kind of makes sense that the game has set them up like that. And in this fixture, I saw it. I think four or five fixtures they had a red card. Lots of bookings in all of them, and it quite often cost them the game. So the ones where you see sort of 4-0, 3-0, 4-1, 3-1, lots of bookings and even a red card in these ones. So it made a big difference to the sort of overall outcome of the Sims. So this is what I was saying about Arsenal's tactics. So they'll set up defensive, hard tackling and pressing. So I mean, combine all that together with the sort of trickery of Chelsea's attack maybe, and that's maybe what's leading to us seeing some lots of bookings and potentially a red card in this game for Arsenal. So here's one where Chelsea won 4-0. See, Ashley Cole got sent off after half an hour. Henry, it completely changes the setup when people get sent off. It can really change the game. So when Cole got sent off, they brought on Matthew Upson for ticking off. So straight away, more defensive. And later on in the game, Henry was hooked on 46 minutes for Giovanni van Bronckhorst. And Chelsea just cashed in round riot. So top players in this game then, so only 2 players got more than 5 returns in this game. So I think I've said in game week 1 and game week 2 for both Chelsea and Arsenal, difficult to pinpoint where their returns come from, so I wasn't surprised to see a really short list here. But Jimmy Floyd Hasselblank, seemed to play a lot of the games, and he got 10 returns. But in terms of what happened on Thursday night, he didn't play. He played game week 1, didn't he? And then he didn't play game week 2. So again, as I've said before, it's difficult to predict who'll play up front for Chelsea. So, I mean, it would be a punt, but there you go. But Lampard from midfield, maybe this could be a week where he actually outdoes Petit, potentially. Okay, so that's Chelsea-Arsenal. Ipswich-Aston Villa. 20 sims of this. So Villa shading it just about. Again, the thing that stands out for me is, again, I don't fancy Ipswich for a clean sheet. Again, I've said it the first 2 weeks. I'm going to say it again. Don't fancy them for a clean sheet. Only 2 out of 20. But again, as I've said before, Bryboland, it doesn't stop Bramble and Ryerson getting bonus, even if they do concede. Villa attack again look pretty good. Top players in this one: Balaban, 9 returns, 8 goals, 1 assist, pretty good. Ginola looked the pick of the Villa midfield, and Jamie Clapham for Ipswich was the standout from his, I think is it from a full-back position, I think. But yeah, I mean, not one to spend too much time on. I mean, neither team are getting anywhere close to averaging 2 goals. They're both a shade over 1. I mean, if you've got attacking players from either team, it could come off. I wouldn't pin too much hope on a clean sheet from either of them. Liverpool-Leicester. As you'd expect, Liverpool heavy favourites, 16 wins out of 20, just over 2 goals a game. Leicester really struggling to find the net in this one, 0.5 goals a game average, and that's even taking into account that they scored twice a couple of times. So lots of blanks, 12 clean sheets out of 20 for Liverpool, which is pushing towards as good as you're going to get really in terms of an average for clean sheets in this game. No clean sheets for Leicester whatsoever. So I think Liverpool now they're out of the Champions League and into the Europa League. They've got a double game week coming up, and I think it's game week 5. So maybe there's an opportunity to get in early in getting some Liverpool assets in. Maybe, if you target a clean sheet in this fixture and think, well, it gives me sort of half a step towards what I might do in game week 5 as well. It might be something to think about. Top players in this game: Fowler, the standout, 14 returns, 9 goals, 5 assists. So Owen did play in some of these fixtures. So as I've said before, I can't replicate the fixture list in the same order. So Owen did play a few of these games, and he did all right. But I think he's going to be injured. I was really surprised to see that he played in the Champions League game on Thursday. He was orange flag going into that, and I think he came off in the first half injured again. So you can rule Owen out. If you want anyone up front for Liverpool, it's going to be Fowler, and he looks like he fancies this game. So that's Liverpool-Leicester. Man United-Newcastle. So, not as convincing as you might expect for United, really. Just 12 wins out of 20, 5 for Newcastle, and a few draws. 50% chance for clean sheet for United, though, which was even though they won 20 games out of 20 in the Sims against Charlton last week, it was still 50% chance of a clean sheet. So they're winning a lot of these to nil. They're either not winning or they're winning it to nil in this one. But having said that, they are capable. A 4-0, a 6-0, a 4-1, a 3-0. So I mean, you're not going to ship United assets out on the back of this, are you? But just don't be too shocked if this is a draw or Newcastle sneak something. United aren't going to win 38 games out of 38, but still favourites. Top players then, so all United. Although I will say Shearer only just missed the cut. Shearer had 5 goals, 0 assists. If you're interested in that and him coming back, if Newcastle do win the game, he could well get something. But just missed the cut in terms of 5 or more. So Ruud van Nistelrooy, top dog, Veron, top midfielder, which has not always been the case. It's not been the case so far, is it? And even in the game for real and in my sims, Veron has not come out on top yet. So maybe this is the week where he does so. York, pretty good. Beckham, 6 returns. I'm hoping Beckham will be back this week. Now he's had his little rest and Chadwick's got his minutes. He should be back in this week, I should think. So that's Man United Newcastle. Borough Charlton. Just have a sip of beer a minute. Not ice cider from a cocktail glass. I've got beer from a pint glass. So sorry if that's too down the line. Not that I'm criticising ice cider from a cocktail glass though. Okay, Borough Charlton. 18 wins out of 20 for Borough, so looks like another toughie for Charlton. 12 clean sheets out of 20, so round about the same chance as Liverpool have got against Leicester. There's no clean sheets for Charlton. So yeah, it could be another tough night for them. Borough averaging 2.4 goals a game. Yeah, pretty high, pretty much as high as it gets really. Around about that. Charlton, I think, are the lowest this week, average on 0.4. Top players then, so bits to talk about here. Dean Gordon looked to be absolutely smashing this game. Every time I clicked into a sim, he was pretty much getting something. But thing to consider about this, Fester may not play. If Fester doesn't play, Gordon will probably play left back instead of left midfield. And that could affect things. In a lot of my sims, he's playing left midfield rather than left back. So massive asterisk against that. But maybe it's one to look out for on the stream from the main account on Sunday night. If it looks like Fester's sort of orange flagged, 80-90% plus, and it looks like he might, he's got a chance of playing, then maybe Gordon might play on the left hand side of midfield. But yeah, it's a massive wait and see. But I'm not gonna just not show you it. I'd rather just explain to you, why I saw this and why it might not happen for real. So Boxic, the next top performer, looks really good. So as I said, I brought him in for Shearer last week. So I'm definitely going to leave him in for this. Looks promising. Zepeda, maybe this week he's going to be a good player. I expect him to be on this list most weeks for Borough when they've got a favourable fixture. And Paul Ince as well, another differential. I'm going to think hard about whether I roll my transfer or swap somebody out for Ince and try and target this as a differential, because that is 10 returns is a high number. He doesn't get massive numbers over the course of a season, typically, but he seems to like this fixture. So at some point you've got to start targeting things. So I'm going to have a think about whether I might do that this week for Ince. And Johnston 8 returns, so not bad as well. But again, if Gordon plays left midfield, it can mean that Johnston plays in centre midfield. If Gordon is playing left back, it could mean that Johnston plays left midfield in the position where Gordon was getting a lot of these returns. So yeah, if Johnston plays on the left-hand side of midfield instead of Gordon, maybe he could cash in just as much. So just to illustrate that then, so this was Borough's formation on Thursday night against Everton. So this is with Festa injured. So Gordon played left back, Johnston played left midfield, where Gordon was getting most of the returns in my sims. In game week 1 against Arsenal, Festa was fit, so Festa played left back, Gordon played left midfield, and Johnston played in the middle. So it just depends where they're going to play. So it's going to be maybe one to look out for tomorrow night. Whether Festa plays or not could make a massive difference to what happens with this list. Maybe Johnston could go to the top ahead of Gordon if he plays in his position. Okay, so that's Borough Charlton. Millwall Blackburn. So yeah, toss a coin really. The thing I'd take from this is they're both averaging over a goal a game. So if you've got attacking assets in your squad from either team, maybe they're not the ones to target for a transfer out this week. I wouldn't be too worried about it. You've got a chance. Wouldn't fancy either for a clean sheet though, particularly. But yeah, toss a coin. It's one of those where Millwall aren't as good as Blackburn, but because they're at home, they'll attack the game, and they could get something. Top performers, so nothing to write home about really. Nobody getting close to double figures really. Jansen, Bent and De Boer stand out for Blackburn. Savarese and Cahill stand out for Millwall. So you probably didn't really need me to tell you that, or you might be disappointed maybe not to see Dunn or Duff on there, but not big numbers from anyone in either team really. Sunderland Leeds. So a couple mad results in this one. Sunderland edging it for goals. Again, thinking about it, again, not too surprised. So Leeds under Martin O'Neill, they will set up away from home, sort of defensively. Not as defensively as they did against Liverpool. That would have been proper defensive, but they'll still go with a kind of normal mentality as opposed to attacking. And just the shape of the team in general. It's slightly more defensive, especially away from home, than it was last year under David O'Leary. Whereas Sunderland, they're at home, they'll attack the game. Home advantage is definitely a thing in CM, and say just because of the way teams set themselves up. So probably, if you consider all that, bit like Villa Chelsea last week. Although Chelsea did win the game, but we said, didn't we, that Villa have definitely got a chance of scoring some goals, and it's a sort of similar story this week. So Sunderland may not necessarily win, but definitely fancy them to score a goal or two at least. Although I say that, but we had 4 0-0s in a row here, so who knows? Again, maybe toss a coin again is what I'm saying. I'm just chatting shit. So 7 wins out of 20 for Sunderland, 5 wins out of 20 for Leeds. clean sheets equal, and a 7-3 win for Sunderland here. So if you take that 7-3 out, if you make it like 3-3, it brings it down to almost even. But over a goal a game for both of them, goals in the match. Top returners, so Bowyer. This looks good for me. Bowyer's in my team. And if you look at Bowyer over a season, a return sort of roughly every 3 games looks about right. So he's got nothing in the first 2 weeks, and he looks good this week. So law of averages, I'm hoping that this will come off. So Bowyer will stay for me. In terms of Sunderland, Teal and Phillips. Teal mostly assists. Phillips goals or assists. Kewell looks good for goals. So although Bowyer's top of the pile, actually in terms of actual fantasy points, I think Kewell would edge it, wouldn't he? Because he's scored most of his returns of goals rather than assists. And Arca looks good again. He's had a good start for the season and wouldn't rule him out in this fixture either. So that's Sunderland Leeds. Tottenham Derby. Why are these all different sizes? Anyway, do the same thing for each one and everyone looks different. Okay, Spurs Derby. So Spurs look good for goals, as they often do. Look a little bit better for clean sheets this week. They're at home against a fairly weak side. Never put any money on Spurs keeping a clean sheet in this game, but of the 3 weeks we've had so far, this is their better chance. 2.4 goals a game is really high. As we've said in previous weeks, they can go off. They've got a 6, a 5, a 4, another 5, another 5. Could be a good week for Spurs potentially. Derby, they've scored 3 once. Other than that, it's either a 1 or a 2. Or a 0, obviously. So top players in this game, Selakovic. So I think he might be back. This week. He enjoyed this fixture. 7 goals, 7 assists out of 20 sims. Rebrov not far behind. Again, in terms of fantasy points, Rebrov would shade it for goals, wouldn't he? And then Poyet looking good as well. For Derby, Ravanelli, the standout player again. So again, as we said before, targeting Derby's points is much easier, but out of their top dogs, Ravanelli was the pick this week. And finally, Watford Man City. So Watford shaded this. Won 50% of the time in my sims. City only 4 wins out of 20. 6 draws, which is quite high. 6 draws out of 20 is high for this game. Watford 8 clean sheets. Man City 6 clean sheets. Yeah, I mean it should be a fairly close contest. It could go either way, really. What I did want to say about this one is, yet again, we've seen a sim where Man City have hit 5. Now, Man City are nowhere near the best team in the league, but we've seen this 3 weeks in a row now where they're capable of hitting 5 goals. They've only done it once this time. They've got another 3 here. But if you take, for example, Liverpool, who are a much better side on paper than Man City, so we're 3 weeks in now, so I think the first week I did 10 sims, and the last 2 weeks I've done 20 sims. So I've run 50 sims of Liverpool now, and they haven't hit 5 a single time. Whereas Man City now, I've done it 5 or 6 times, I think. So there's definitely something in that. Man City have got something in them, and they've got the potential to go mad, more than maybe any other team outside Man United. But let's just hope we see it one week, and we've got Man City players when it happens. So top players in this game. Petkov was the top returner. So I said last week, don't panic on Petkov. He is a good player. He could get something against Newcastle even if they lose, and he did just that. And they're now at home, again, in a fixture that they definitely could win. And more than happy to have him in my team. He was the top performer over 20 sims. One shot top dog for Man City. And Helgeson, 6 returns out of 20. That's not big numbers really. Petkov will one shot the picks really. Okay, so that's it for the 10 fixtures. So just to round up the top players we've seen. So it's really pixelated. I'll try and sort this out for next week. So player of the week, pick of the week, looks like Dean Gordon, but as I said, massive asterisks against that because we don't know whether he's going to play left back or left wing. Selakovic was next best with Robbie Fowler, Ruud van Nistelrooy and Petkov not far behind. So so we'll have a look at that next week, see how many of those 5 actually came up with something. I reserve the right to strike Gordon off the list if he plays left back. So those are the picks for this week. Good luck with the game week. Make sure you catch the official stream on Sunday night where you'll get the latest team news, injury news, who's orange flagged, who's definitely out, all that kind of stuff. Add that knowledge to these sims if you'd like. Maybe gives us half a chance. Okay, thanks everyone. Good luck with game week 3. Cheerio.